Hey there, Matthew. It is awesome to have you on the Building Your Life podcast here today. Building Your Life with John Browning. And those of you who are regular listeners know that this is not investment advice, right, Matthew?
This is not investment advice.
This is
No.
not investment advice. However, we hope that you can get something that you will be able to take away and be able to contact either myself, John Browning, or Matthew about how we might be able to help you better in your personal walk as you build your life with this tool that we call money and your finances. And just, I'm super grateful that Matthew's taken the time to spend a little time with us today. Michael Delon has taken a much needed break in helping us with the podcast. But Matthew is writing or has finished writing, right? Your first book, Never Be Poor Again, A Guide to Money as a Spiritual Practice. And the release date is July the 16th. Am I right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Right.
I'm really excited for it to come out. Also, I just want to say, John, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really, really excited. We had some great conversation. You and I really, really hit it off, and it's great talking to you. But yeah, my book, Never Be Poor Again, A Guide to Money as a Spiritual Practice, comes out on July 16th. It'll be on Amazon. It'll be on Barnes & Nobles. You can get the ebook on Kobo and pretty much all the basic sites that you can find that on.
Awesome. And, it was really interesting because when we kind of met over LinkedIn and you were interested in my book, Build a Life, Not a Portfolio, because I approach things a little bit differently than most financial advisors in that I look at money and your portfolio as just one of the major tools in planning to build your best life. And a lot of times people get that mixed up, right? They think that money is the end game. Yeah. But how many people do you know, Matthew, that have all the money in the world and are completely miserable?
Oh man, it's, I say that all the time. People don't understand the difference between being rich and being wealthy, right? To be rich is to have abundance of money. To be wealthy is to have an abundance of time. You can have all the money in the world and no time to do anything with that money. So some people are so poor that all they have is money.
Exactly. So that's what we're all about here on, Build Your Life, Not a Portfolio. But Matthew, can you just tell me a little bit about what it is that you do personally to help people?
Yes, absolutely. So I bridge the gap between people who have no financial literacy and the next step. I am not the financial advisor. I'm not the person who is going to tell you how to invest your money, although I know how to invest. I'm the person that's going to help you and guide you to understand the importance of either starting your own business or investing, whether that be in stock market or cryptocurrency, because that's completely up to you, or that means investing in other people, whatever it is. But I'm bridging that gap and I'm giving the financial literacy to understand the laws behind money, the simple things that we need to know. Before you can even go and try to be rich, first you have to be stable. And so if you're in high school, if you're an entrepreneur who hasn't started a business yet, if you're just starting a business, that's where I help you. I bridge that gap, teach you how to write a business plan, a marketing plan, teach you the importance of finances, actually teach you what to do with your finances, how to manage your accounts, how to understand what your net worth is, the fundamentals of finance.
That's awesome. That is that's a basic step that people tend to just sort of forget about. And, and one of the interesting statistics that I always talk about is that there's 75, and this has been sort of proven out as much as surveys can prove things, that over multiple surveys, roughly 75% of Americans have no financial plan, and even more of them have no life plan. And I see the two really dovetailing. And what you do is you help people start thinking about thinking, right? Thinking about getting there.
That first step. Something that we know we should get in high school and school. But the point is, we know they're not teaching it to us. So stop blaming them.
Yes.
At this point, stop blaming them. We have to put it on ourselves. And so I find it interesting how many people are completely broke and never think to study money.
Yeah.
They say, I want to learn the guitar, and they learn the guitar and they become a master. I want to learn how to sew, and then they become a master dressmaker. yet they never once think, you know, I probably should learn the laws behind money.
Right. Exactly. Now, Matthew, I know that you were in the Marines, right?
Hoorah.
Thank you
Hoorah.
for that.
Thank you.
But you know, I'm thinking of Marines to teaching and showing people about money. Why? Where did that come from?
You know, there is that the Marine Corps was that gap for me. So I grew up in the hood. You know what I mean? I grew up in Passaic, New Jersey, Paterson, New Jersey, Newark, which is right next to New York, going, you know, right back and forth, traveling up to Brooklyn and Manhattan and stuff. And so I grew up around Crips and Bloods and Latin Kings and stuff. I grew up around shootouts, right? We didn't learn about money. We didn't learn any of that stuff.
Right.
And I wanted to get out of there. And I wanted to get out of there so desperately that I would have done anything. And so I remember I started working at the Brownstone, which was this amazing catering restaurant that, you know, did weddings and bar mitzvahs and worked with politicians and stuff like that. Really, really cool show, cool place that ended up with their own TV show. Anyway, and so seeing this wealth, seeing these people and saying, I can't live like that anymore. I can't live like that. And so I just need to get out of here. And so I joined the Marine Corps. To get away from gangs, I joined the biggest gang there is, right? And so I was willing to die to get out of there.
Wow. And
so then that whole time though, I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad as a kid. My father had me read that book when I was 12 years old. And so he had, you know, at 18, I think is when The Secret came out. So then he immediately had me read that, and he had me read Think and Grow Rich and all these things. So these were all things I grew up with reading. Not many people got that.
Right.
What we call my $1 million library my father gave me, even though he never went to high school, he had this library. And so reading all these books, I had this dissonance, and I was still poor, and I did that amazing job and I was still broke. And then I joined the Marine Corps and I was still broke. And then I went and traveled the world and I was still broke. And then one year I made like $100,000 and I was still broke. And I was just like, what is going on? And it was simple. It was my arrogance, not my poverty, keeping me poor. I recognized that my poverty never did it. I was reading the books, but I wasn't reading the intros. I wasn't reading the conclusions. I was skipping over the exercises. I was arrogant. I was only doing the steps that was in line with my philosophies, my poor person's philosophies. And if there was a philosophy that made me go outside of my comfort zone, I just skipped that.
I like that. It's just easier.
Right?
Skip the things you don't agree with, right?
That's what we do. And so it hit me that it was my arrogance, and that until I learned to follow the recipe, that nothing was going to happen. No matter how hard I try, you could be the biggest genius in the world. Okay. You can't switch baking soda for sugar and expect a cake to appear. There's a minimum recipe. There's a minimum recipe. And then after you understand the recipe, then you can make it a wedding cake and a muffin and a cupcake. You can make it big and you can make it small. You can make it blue. You can make it pink. You can make it look like Nightmare on Elm Street if you want. It doesn't matter. You can make it literally look like anything, but you can't change the basic formula. And that's the formula that I wasn't following, that most people aren't following. And that's a formula you need to understand before they even get to you, the financial advisor.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. And you know, it's funny too. You think about pilots, right? They go to pilot plane. They teach you when you become a pilot. Part of getting your pilot's license is how to examine the plane, and they teach you to they teach you to want to find a crack in the plane. They teach you to want to find something wrong when you do your walk around inspection. Because until you get to that point, it's a really dangerous thing to pilot your own.
That's amazing. That's a great way to look at things. I say to my team, the first thing I do is there's always going to be an obstacle in a day, right? There's always going to be this challenge or something. There's always something goes wrong. So the first thing I do is I say, hey guys, congratulations. Guess what? We got our first obstacle to conquer today.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, cool. We got our first puzzle. We have our first, and we just start working on it. Then we start, like, all right, cool. And now it becomes this thing that we just work through. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's an obstacle, but now it's a puzzle, and it's an obstacle that's going to get us further. And we have to have that obstacle. To think we're not going to have that obstacle is absolutely insane.
Right. And you build your recipe, like you were saying, and I call it, my analogy is a roadmap, right? There's always going to be a detour,
Mhm.
There's always going to be something, an obstacle that comes up. But if you stay true to your map and your destination and your plan, and you're consistent, you got that mindset, you'll get there.
Exactly. I love that you say roadmap, because another term I use is treasure maps. Right. So you make a treasure map. You've got a treasure map. You're getting to that treasure no matter what. You want to cross the bridge. Maybe the bridge isn't there. You think that's going to stop you? No. If you have the treasure map. But if you don't have the treasure map and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go get that. And then you go to you're like, I got to cross the bridge, and bridges are like gone. You're like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I can't get there.
I guess I can't get there. Let's just
I don't know what to do. I don't know how far the river goes that way and that way. And the river is way too far that way. I don't know. So it's a lot easier to quit in that moment. And so you're right. It's important to have the roadmap, to have that treasure map, to have that recipe, that formula to follow. That, frankly, a master spent 10,000 hours figuring out in the first place, doing everything possibly wrong until he figured out, oh man, I have to do at least this. And so now we want to be arrogant and be like, oh, I'm too smart for that. No, we're not. Stop.
Right. Yeah. I run into a lot of people that are very successful that, then they are super smart. They're very good at what they do. They're a master at what they do. But I always say that, a football in my hands is worth about 20, 25 bucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put it in Drew Brees' hand, about 48 million or so, right?
Yeah.
You put it in the hands of a master, and it makes a huge difference.
Exactly. And that's any tool, right? That's any tool.
That's any tool. You're right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Whether it's a paintbrush or
a guitar, a hammer, it doesn't matter. If you're the person that becomes the master at it, and a master, for the people that don't know this, is simply a person who masters the fundamentals. That's what an expert is, right? They master the fundamentals. That's what a master is. They take the fundamentals and they practice those over and over and over. Yep. Because those can't change. The principles can't change. And that's what I teach. I teach principles that can't change it. So it doesn't matter if you go to a financial advisor or a cryptocurrency. If it doesn't matter if you're thinking about 401k or buying a business, you're going to know principles, and you're going to know whether it's a good choice or a bad choice, because the principles are going to tell you.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Hey, before we get off the show here, Mathew, can you give us an example of a time where you've been able to make a significant difference in somebody's life through what you teach and what you do?
Yes. I have a good friend of mine, Bria, who she was also a coach. She also is a coach. She teaches, and she's just, phenomenal teacher. The only thing is just the organization of her account. So she hired me to do some simple, teach her some classes. Mm-hmm. And so her working with me, I think it was within 3 months, she immediately started earning 6 figures from 4 figures. And I'm pretty sure it was 90 days. And she talks about it all the time. She's always talking about it. I'm just but all we did was really, really simple things. And it was just organization. And the truth is, everyone knows these rules. I'm just going to show you the importance of them.
I love it. I love it. The amount of differences is just huge, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually something simple to remove and then add back the fundamentals. So that is awesome. Well, hey. Yeah. We'll wrap it up here now, but I want to make sure people know how they can get in touch with you. People know me, generally speaking. They know they can go out to guardianrockwealth.com, hit the contact us button, and I'm happy to speak with anybody, no matter where you're starting from. If you're starting from somewhere like you just haven't even gotten going yet and don't know where to go, and I may work with you myself, or I may have you give Mathew a call to get you started. And then you come to me later, but we're willing to help, and Mathew and I could work together to do that.
Absolutely.
And you guys also know you can get a copy of my book, Build a Life, Not a Portfolio, right there on the website, just by filling out that contact us page, and get straight to me. But Mathew, how do they get in touch with you?
Yes. Okay. So thank you. And please make sure to buy his book. His book's going to be awesome. It's going to change your life. Make sure to get my book, Never Be Poor Again. You can contact me. I am the Money Mystic. You can find me on Facebook as the Money Mystic, on Instagram, Money Mystic 359. My website is moneymystic.co, not .com, but moneymystic.co. My phone number is right on my LinkedIn, Mathew Morales. And make sure to find my book on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Never Be Poor Again. It comes out on July 16th, and I would be happy to give you some resources and anything you guys need to get on the path it takes to success.
Awesome. Thanks again, Mathew. It was a real pleasure. I really enjoyed it, and looking forward to getting this podcast out to folks and hopefully making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, thank you. I had a great time on the show. Great time talking to you, and I hope I get a chance to do the show with you again.
All right, absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See ya.